All right, welcome to the Iron Sharpening Iron. Sharp your man, Big Jack. This is where we prove we are stronger together. That if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. And we're in a new month, the month of October, and everything is going well. I'm super excited about all the things that's going on with the Iron Sharpening Iron show, the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, and all the spinoffs that come from the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. As I said. Even to the point that we were doing the trivia time with Big Jack. So I'm hoping everybody's been enjoying those different trivia questions. I'm learning a lot. I mean, the last one we did, and just to be talking about that, was the what was the first toy advertised on TV? And that was like crazy. But the more research I went into it, it was Mr. Potato Head was the first toy to be advertised on television. And the funny part about that, and this is one of the things I didn't share in there, it was just the accessories. So if you didn't know, the original Mr. Potato Head, you were supposed to provide the potato. So they was just giving you the little things to stick in the potato, so their eyes and the nose and the lips and the ears and all of that. So that to me was just amazing. But people were getting rotten vegetables and fruit. And so that's where they ended up coming with the body, and they gave you the body and all as it went on. So when the first one came out in 1952, they had a $2 accessory pack and a $1 accessory pack. But that was the first toy ever to be advertised on television, Mr. Potato Head, and it was just the accessory. So I thought all of that is kind of fun. So I learned a lot from when I talked to about the different things that's going on with the trivia that we throw out there. And then it's also at the same time, like, can you imagine? I couldn't imagine someone handing me accessories and say, go get a potato from the backyard or from the basket or whatever and play with your food. So for all that, don't play with your food. But then that was the first story, playing with your food. So with all that being said, I know we got a good show going on, getting ready to happen. And I want to bring my man up on the stage so we can kick this thing off. So give me 1 second, get him up on the stage. Oh man, Walt Talks, what's up?
My man, what's happening, Big Jack? How you doing, sir?
Man, you know what? I'm doing really well. I appreciate it, and thank you. Doing really well.
So, word on the street, James Brown, the late James Brown's estate is suing you because you were bucking for the hardest working man in show business title. Is that true? Man,
Hey,
you've been working,
hey.
man. You've been on the
I was gonna
grind,
take one.
bro.
I was gonna take one of his songs because right now I feel good. That's
I
it.
respect your grind, man. Congratulations on hitting your numbers, man. And thank you to all the fans and all the likes and subscriptions and all that good stuff and the watch hours, man. We appreciate that. Hey, man. And I'm going to take this time to say publicly, respectfully, I told you so.
Oh, 100%. Yes, you did. Look, in this last week, in the last week, just knocking it out the park.
Dramatic, man.
We hit 600 uploads. So we already crossed the 600 videos. We posted over 600 videos. We've had over 200,000 views, and that happened. We hit that in the last week as well. And then we launched the new show, the new spinoff, which was the Ladies' Diary, which was a home run. Grand slam home run. It was amazing watching
the ladies
that.
Did it. The ladies did it,
up
man.
A new member of the team because now we have Mama Lyons. For those who don't know, she was on the Ladies' Diary, and she was also a guest on the show before, but she didn't have that name. So now she has the name Mama Lyons. So you'll start seeing that a lot more with the Iron Sharpening Iron show and its universe, if that's it. Yes. And we crossed it, 300,000 or 300. What was it? 3,000 watch hours. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I'm looking way for it. So 3,000 watch hours, and yes, we did cross that line. So I'm super excited. I was playing the Door to Explore music. We did it. Yeah, we did it. So, but no, 100%, super excited, and I owe it to you and Boss B and everyone that's been watching and supporting and doing the grind to help us get to that mark. Because I know it's not like the motto say, we are stronger together, and if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. And that's what it's all about.
Well, we appreciate that, but understand, man, we are supporting you, and you had a vision, and you shared that vision with us, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm sure I speak for B Mama Lions, and all the fans that, hey man, I respect your hustle, bro. I respect your hustle. So, and here's the thing, without a lot of confusion, you kept it clean, no clickbait, just
Mhm.
honest conversations with real people. And man, I got to tell you, in today's time, I am proud to say I'm on your team, bro. So congratulations. I salute you for that.
Well, I appreciate
100%.
that. I really
Yes,
do. I
sir.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, look, man, we got a wonderful show today. We got a person that's going to come up on this stage and it's
Yes.
going to help us move from the burnout to the breakthrough. Because
Yes.
I've been on both sides, and where
Hmm.
you get burnt out, and sometimes you don't think that you can get out of that rough that you're in. I've
Hmm.
talked about a lot, that valley experience. A lot of people they're stuck.
Hmm.
And so having someone that's going to get on the stage with us and they're going to help us do that. So I don't even want to waste any more. Not that we wasting time. I can talk to
Right.
you
I
all,
understand.
but at the same time, I don't want to hold back our guests. I want to get her
Mhm.
up on the stage so we can learn something today. So if you wait, give me a second. I'm gonna get her up on the stage and
Absolutely.
go. All right. All right. Welcome to the Sharpening Iron Show, Miss Tracy Doyle. How you doing?
I'm good, Big Jack. Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on all your success. I'm so excited to hear about it.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're moving and
Moving
and,
and
and
shaking. Love
growing,
it.
growing and glowing together 100%, and we're doing it. So, but we thank you for being on the show today. We thank you for being a guest, and we're here. So this is the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and we will make cuts of this video and put it on TikTok and Instagram. And really, it's just we're going to be having a conversation. So again, thank you for being here. That's my man, my co-host Walt Talks,
Hey,
and
Tracy.
Nice to
yeah.
meet you.
My
So not
pleasure.
to hold back because we got people in the chat and they already looking and watching and all that good stuff. So if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, then we can kick this off.
Yeah, I mean, so let me start with the big stuff, and then I'll really kick it off in terms of my journey. I'm still amazed actually that that basically I'm an award-winning entrepreneur who built and led a multi-million dollar award-winning company. And and I've employed hundreds of people, and together with my team, we generated millions and millions of dollars in sales. And what I'm really blown away with today is that, I'm a woman who understands that overcoming emotional burnout is an inside job, and I've helped dozens of women understand that too. But it wasn't always like that. I came up. I was born in Elizabeth, New Jersey, to a mentally ill mom, and I was born out of wedlock. And basically, her parents and family were, sadly, my grandfather was an alcoholic, and they went through the devastating effects of addiction. So my life started off pretty, sudden, if you will, in terms of my grandmother not knowing that, that my mom was actually pregnant. And so there was a lot of challenges, a lot of family complexities, growing up in an alcoholic household. But things really shifted for me, as I got sort of 5, 6 years old, things just really shifted with sexual abuse. But the big shift was when my mom finally married. And the trauma that I experienced, she married someone who was a drug addict and an alcoholic and a gambler. And, I thought I knew alcoholism and the effects of it. But until I lived with this guy, I had no idea. And, we really had a rough, rough time with, him wasting all of his money and on drugs and alcohol and not having food and having to scrap and fight for what I needed to take care of my mother and my siblings because they had 2 kids together. So I sort of became a tough street girl, and sadly, his bottom was me finding him dead because he was murdered. So it was pretty traumatic and pretty crazy. But the good news is that my grandparents rescued us, and my grandmother was a tremendous influence on my life, and she pushed me. And I'm the first in our family to go to college. And the first to really make it, but getting out in the real world was challenging because, I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. I have a dual degree in psychology and counseling, and I'm trained at a junior level. But I couldn't afford, we came from poverty, so I couldn't afford to get an advanced degree. I put myself through school. So I, moved into the pharmaceutical industry where I had an incredible career. But based on my background, it was challenging, because I didn't sort of quite feel like I could relate to many people based on some of the things I'd experienced. So, what I started to find in that journey was, I was struggling to be understood, and I was starting to have conflicts with people, and, got to a point where I was an overachiever and I did really well. But I got to a point where I just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, ultimately getting a great, job in the pharmaceutical industry and then another job outside of it. And then it ultimately led me to starting my own business. But there was a time when I really burned out. So, that's when things really started to change for me.
Right. Okay. All right. So now I know you mentioned this, I won't say if it's a stepdad or your mom's husband. I don't know what you call him, but your mom's husband, and you had siblings. They had children, so those were your siblings.
Yeah, they were my half siblings, right? And I didn't know my dad, so it was, coming up, it was just having at that time, people didn't know what bipolar was, and my mom had bipolar disorder, and she couldn't handle a lot. Like, she couldn't handle parenting and working at the same time. It was a struggle. I mean, I didn't understand that, but what the aftermath is for a child is emotional neglect, her not knowing how to handle situations and, being, raging out and things like that. And when things got tough with her husband, she couldn't handle it at all. I mean, it was hard. And so I stepped up as the parent at the age of 10 because the kids were starving, so I would literally race kids on the schoolyard for lunch. And, and basically if I won the race and they didn't give me the food, you know darn well, I came up in Elizabeth, Jersey on the streets. I just forgot. So I brought food home for us. It wasn't much, but I brought food home for us. And, so my life just really started, with sort of survival skills, but I was always good in school. And I always did well. So it was sort of this mix of, I call myself scrappy street girl and smart girl, so I had this balance, but it was thankfully my, my survivor skills and my, basically my smarts that sort of got me through.
I got you. Okay. All right. So now you said that your grandparents was the push. So your grandparents pushed you to make sure that you were going to go to school. You were going to be the one who, like you said, the first to do this and do that. So did you pay it forward? Did you bring your siblings along with you, or did you give them that same push that your grandparents was giving you?
Yeah, so it's my grandmother really. She just always would say things like, if you work hard and you go to college and you get a degree, you can get a good job and you can see the world. And she was right, But, she had 9 other kids and I was sort of raised as the 10th because I was the oldest grandchild. But paying it forward, I tried with my sister, sadly, is mentally ill as well, like my mom. And my brother, unfortunately, he had a trauma when he was 7 years old, and sadly, he overdosed when he was 29 years old.
Wow.
But I've been I call myself the perpetual caretaker in my family, starting at age 10. But my sister's kids, I played a role with her first 2 kids, but most recently, and this is how I've really paid it forward of late. 4 years ago, my niece, then 14 years old, reached out to me because I honestly did not really understand it, nor did I appreciate the extent of my sister's disability with her mental illness. And her daughter, like me, became the caretaker at the age of 11 after my mom passed. And at the age of 14, she was getting ready to go into high school. And this child knew that she wanted to go to college and she wanted to be like me. And she reached out to me and said, Aunt Tracy, I need help. And she told me that she needed help with her mom. So I uprooted my life. I moved to South Carolina. I'm a Jersey girl. So moving to South Carolina was a huge culture shock.
Wow.
And I left my spouse, I left my house, I left my family, I left all my friends, my network. And I moved down there to give this child stability and keep her with her mother.
Mm.
And by keeping her there, I'm happy to say she just graduated and she's now at Drew University on a presidential scholarship here in New Jersey. So I'm just thrilled that I've paid it forward that way.
Well, no, congratulations to your niece, and that is great work. A lot of people wouldn't have, uprooted themselves. I mean, even the support. So I'm not trying to dig into your house life or your home life, but are you still married?
I am. I came home every month for
Okay,
anywhere from 7 to 10 days.
right.
It was
Because the way you say the way you said it first, like I left my husband, I left. They're like, wait a
no,
minute.
no, I
So
left New Jersey. I
you,
just
you,
left
you,
everything here.
okay, but so you had the support from your family to go and do what you
Yeah.
had to do, and that's huge right there. And that for your, we've had several shows where people say they don't know how to ask for help or they don't ask for help, and they say that your niece reached out saying I need help. That is huge. That's a major move right there. And when you see yourself needing it and someone and you're there to help them, it's just hats off to you and hats off for your niece for even asking for the help, because a lot of people would have tried to struggle on their own or tried to get it. I'll figure it out. And sometimes we just need someone to help someone to guide me and get me there. Right.
Exactly. And I think that's, when faced with a question like that, I think that's why everyone on my side here in New Jersey supported it, because for a child to actually have the courage to do that and know that they wouldn't succeed without it, what do you say? Like, I
Right.
couldn't say no,
Right.
and basically, she would not do well here in New Jersey. She only grew up in the South, which is why I took the risk, but out of everything that happens, I find in life is especially related to my journey. I still was a business owner at that point, and had sort of handed the reins over. So it actually afforded me the opportunity to go, because I stepped down from the CEO role, and basically, left with a complete state of isolation, living outside of my comfort zone, living in a place that I was unfamiliar. I turned lemons into lemonade, and I actually wrote a book. That's what I did
Wow.
during that time.
Oh, so you got a book as well. Okay, before we get into the book part, because I want to hear about that. In the chats, Sharon Jackson, which is my mom, so my mom's in the chat,
Okay.
but she made a comment. What is a presidential scholarship? So if you can explain that, you said your niece was on a presidential.
Yeah, so a presidential scholarship is when the president of the school recognizes a child. And so she wrote an amazing essay about growing up with her mentally ill mom and being resourceful and resilient and asking for help. And she got a full scholarship to college.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. So, but there you are, Sharon Jackson. There you go. Now you got your answer. So, so you say you have a book. So, before we get to the book, I know you said you was an overachiever and you went through a lot. I mean, so the balance. So, is the book? Is your life inspired the book? Is that where it came from? As far as all the struggle that you went through, you was able to, like you say, turn those lemons into lemonade and then say, okay, so I need to put this down. And did you put it down for others, or was it just something I needed to write it down and it ended up being a book that I could put on the market?
Yeah, it's a great question. I really want to help other women struggling. And I say that because, my how do I say this? My foundational belief in life now is, having gone through living through emotional burnout, was or is that we're all wounded in some way by our life experiences. And, mine were pretty insane, right? They were pretty crazy, some of the traumas that I experienced. And there's more to it. I just don't want to belabor all of that. But what happened to me was, there was a time when, and I was in my 30s, I was in my mid 30s. Here I am, I'm in the pharmaceutical industry. I have this, overachieving career. I'm top of my game, right? I'm, like the top salesperson in the pharmaceutical industry. Then I leave and I become a vice president at a medical communications company. I'm bringing in millions of dollars. Look at me, look how great I am. But inside, I'm struggling, because while I'm this person on the outside, what I'm dealing with behind the scenes is, managing my mentally ill mother, I didn't know my sister was mentally ill yet, but because it still was on sort of unknown back then. But she just seemed bad, right? And she ended up treating her bipolar disorder sadly, with crack and heroin. And she had kids. So I assumed custody of her children, and I'm trying to manage my own relationship in my own household. So I literally, I became a human doer. Like, it was just human doing, do. And, and basically, as a human doer, I did everything for everyone to the point of exhaustion. And I just didn't know how to be. And, and not knowing how to be is what really got me. I mean, I got to a point where I hit a low. And I mean, I could remember it like it was yesterday. I mean, it was a cold winter's day. It was December 21st, 1999. And I mean, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I just looked dead. Like, I was hollow. I was just going through the motions and I was just dead inside. And inside my head, I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to. I'm done taking care of my mentally ill mom. I'm done being responsible for my sister's kids. I'm done being stretched. I was like stretched in every single direction at work. I'm done being the fixer. I had to fix everything at work, at home. I'm done. And, and then the thought just came to me, like, if I got really good and drunk, I'd get into a bad accident. And P.S., no one would know. No one would know. And my mind was just like, if you get good and drunk, yeah, you'll get in a bad accident. No one will know you planned this and that you wanted to kill yourself. And that thought was deep. It was deep. And, and next thing I know, that same day, I wake up to this, and I went through with it. And, but I lived. And, and I'm like, whoa, and what had I done? And how did this happen to me? And how did I get so lost? And, how do I get my life back? And, I was walking to a school meeting that next day for my niece, and I just screamed out to the universe, like, I want to live again. I want to live again. And, I had been to therapy for my trauma. I, basically had sought self-help through self-help books. And, I mean, I did everything, healers, you name it. And yet I still was so empty and alone and exhausted and isolated. And so I went on a journey, and it was a 2-year journey, and it was a slow crawl. I, first had to be willing to open up to people about what I did. Yes, I got treatment for depression and I got help again with therapy. But, there was one of my friends who just showed me a tool, and it was an honest assessment of sort of what are you angry about? And, basically who hurt you? And it was this objective assessment of how my life experiences affected me. And, having studied psychology and counseling, I saw something entirely different. I was like, whoa, this is helping me see where my needs were stunted. I liked Abraham Maslow. Then I'm like, wow, cool. This is helping me uncover my belief system and how it's holding me back and shutting me off from everybody. And most importantly, from me. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. So that's how my journey started. And over time, I had so many different influences in my life. And in my book, I write about who they were and what I learned. I mean, so many people. And through them, I really started to learn spiritual practices, because I find that everybody deals with negative thinking. Everyone deals with their traumas. Everyone deals with their wounds. They all have their own way of getting there. And once I became vulnerable and talked about it, I went on this journey of figuring out what to do. And again, I don't want to say without therapy and other support, but this is what really turned me around, because what it showed me was how to really stop the noise in my head. And it showed me that all of my problems were within me. It was in between my 2 ears. And then I could redirect it. And once I did that, oh my gosh, I felt so empowered. So once I started to do that, I started helping others with it professionally, with, as a mentor, not a paid coach or anything like that. And I've helped quite a few professional women, and I saw results. And so my little tribe is like, you need to get this out in the world. And I decided I wanted to do that. So.
Okay. All right. That's pretty very interesting. So you did say you had a book. You have a book. So, and I do have a picture of the book. But can you tell us a little bit about the book? And I'm gonna put it up on the screen real quick. Let's see if we can
Yeah. It's called Life Storms, finding your clear sky. And what life storms is, a lot of people think it's just the big storms in your life, but the idea here is that we have daily storms, right? We have churn on the inside. We're struggling, right? We're struggling in our relationships. And when you're burned out in particular, you have a lot of conflict going on, conflict at home, conflict at work. You feel like no one understands you, no one supports you. You feel misunderstood. You feel unseen, unheard. So that's the storm that's happening is within us. And finding your clear sky is learning how to change your perspective so that you can overcome that negative thinking and restore not only connection to yourself, but restore that connection to the people in your life and repair those relationships so you feel fulfilled again.
Okay. Wow. All right. Yeah. Walt, it looked like your head's spinning over there. You got
My
So it's amazing how the universe works. I was out today on my motorcycle. I'm listening to some good gospel music, just riding, nowhere in particular. And the song "Lord Don't Move the Mountain" by Inez Andrews came up, and I must have listened to this thing no less than 11 or 12 times. And it starts out with, "Lord, don't move my mountains, but give me the strength to climb. And Lord, don't take away the stumbling blocks, but lead me around." And then here we are at 7 p.m. talking to you, and it's exactly what I was singing all day today. So first of all, I commend you for being for your level of self-awareness, because a lot of people, that's the only thing that stops them from getting to the other side of our, and I'll say our because we all have it, our mess, so to speak, and how we perceive it. So and then to share that with everyone, that's pretty big. So your level of self-awareness to say, okay, I got to do something here. I mean, because you could have just given up, and many people do, and I don't blame them. I certainly understand that, but I commend you for getting here and having this conversation, because I mean, again, 6 hours ago, I'm running this through my brain, and here you are. So, hey, Big Jack, once again, the universe has brought me exactly what I needed on the Big Jack show, on the Iron Sharpening Iron show. So, Tracy, thank you for that, and I'm looking forward to reading your book. So, thank you for that.
Thank you all.
So now, Tracy, I know that you said there was a point you was in, you was at a low. You're even saying I'm talking about taking myself out. That's what you were saying. And you did a hand gesture with a knock on the door. Was that a knock on the door? Was that your niece? What was
No, it was a knock on my car window. I realized I didn't say it. It was just a knock on my car window and someone saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?"
Wow.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I had actually done it.
Wow.
I got I was a hair away from a head-on collision.
Mm.
Because I wanted to die. And then, when I got out, I was of the car, I was like, oh my God, I did it. I did it, and I couldn't believe I did it. And then I was like, what am I doing? I mean, and I came to realize, so many people counted on me, but I had to find my way back to me, because only I could find my way back to me, no one else. And that moment was a pivotal moment, and because I've met so many different women with burnout, some do want to die, some don't, but it gets to a point, you just, it's like you get, have you ever gotten to a point where you do so much for everyone else, and you don't feel heard, and you just, I'm like, that's it, I'm done, I want to give up. That's sort of what a lot of people go through. And, and I was ready to take it there. And then afterwards, I'm like, no, like, I want to live. And, and I felt like I was given a choice. I really did. I felt like, God gave me that choice. I could stay, or I could just do it again. And I'm like, no, I got a lot to live for. And then what happened was, you heard my success. I ended up starting a business. It was super successful. And, I was able to help my niece. I needed to be on this planet, but I had to overcome my burnout and overcome what I've learned, which is, it's internalized beliefs. Like, at that time, I thought it's everyone else putting all this pressure on me. And it was, them, right? If they just this and they just that, if they changed, if they understood. And what I realized was I had to change because all of it was within me. These were all my internalized beliefs shaped by my earlier life experiences that drove, they drove how I thought, they drove how I felt, they drove, how I related and showed up in relationships. They drove everything. I didn't know that, but they did. And then as I learned from the one friend who showed me this tool and I saw what it drove, I was like, wow, all the therapy in the world, as much as I had therapy, I would get sort of snapshots of that, but I still didn't understand how to change it, you know? And this was the pivotal moment for me at that time. And it just showed me how to change it. And then I did, I'm like book smart, right? So I'm like, okay, if the primary problem is my thinking, because it's from internalized beliefs, how do I change my thinking, right? So I'm reading all these books, and there's different books that say the one book I liked when I was in college, it was called The Four Agreements. And what Don Miguel Ruiz talks about is he calls it's a Toltec term called mitote, which means we can't see outside of ourselves. It's like a fog, right? So what does it mean? It means we're self-centered. So for me, that's just not enough. Don't tell me I'm self-centered. You know what I mean? It's like, no, don't call me a narcissist. There's got to be something. So I started looking up, the word selfish just means absorbed in self, but what are words that follow self? And that's when I saw things like self-pity. I felt sorry for myself based on some of my experiences and having to be responsible for my mother. Self-avoidance. I didn't want to deal with my feelings. There's another one called self-effacing. And for many of us with trauma, we become self-effacing. We just become invisible. We don't want to be heard. We don't want to be seen. And we just do and do and do. And yet, we feel like no one sees us, but we're the ones who don't speak up. So it was all these different I started looking up all these words. And then once I applied those different types of, I call them issues, once I started to look at what issues and how I responded to different experiences in my life, I was like, there you go. That's your problem, girl. That's what you have to change.
But it is to hear you say that, that's like, wow. But what I didn't hear you say when you had your accident, I didn't hear you say, wow, I can't even get this right. It's like you still held yourself accountable. Okay, I have to change my thinking, but you didn't sit there and say, woe is me, I can't even do this, the thing that you did with your car. So again, I guess being a young girl, being 10, taking care of the world, so to speak, it made you sharp. It made you tough because a lot of people in your position would just get stuck. And I'm sitting there looking at this like, man, like you think you have problems, right, Jack? You think you've been through some stuff, right? And then you hear someone else's situation and how they've dealt with it. And it's like this is incredible to me. So Tracy, again, I commend you. You are tough. You are sharp. Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Now, what I didn't hear, and like you said, Walt, with that too, Tracy, is that I didn't hear you say that you turned to the things that you was exposed to. So did you ever, was you ever a user, or as far as drugs and things like that? Or I know you said alcohol, I could drink and.
Yeah, in high school I smoked pot, but I stopped that when I went out into the real world. But I never got into drugs or anything like that. But I did drink, and and I found drinking to be, especially as I was burning out more and more and more, to be my go-to, and so that's why when the only way I could see myself dying was getting drunk and getting into an accident, because it just made sense. It really did. It made good. That was the only thing I did. I didn't have the courage like some people who want to really do something crazy, like, slit their wrists and things like that. Was not me. But I wanted it to look like an accident because I didn't want people to think I did it. I didn't want people, because on the outside, what people saw was the woman who managed it all, right? And I made it look effortless. And, so on the outside, it was like, I'm this high achiever. I travel all over. I'm taking care of my mother. I have the house. I have the car. I had it all.
You got it
But
made.
on the inside, I mean, I was bankrupt, like, emotionally and spiritually bankrupt.
Wow.
And, and that's why I am writing now about burnout, because so many of us are like this. Now, I don't know that other people are taking it to where I took it. But, I didn't feel equipped. I did not feel equipped. I didn't have that sort of that support network with my mom. Like, who am I going to talk to,
Right.
And so, so I think it was that sense of isolation and aloneness that took me to, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And when I finally, was, like I said, I was walking to my niece's third grade school meeting, and I just was like, what am I doing? I mean, these kids need me, like people needed me. And, and I got to figure this out, and I always attribute that to my Annie. And she was a pivotal person in my life. And she would always say, snap out of it, little sister, whenever I got upset. She and my uncle Tim supported me through college, because I couldn't afford to live on campus. So they let me live in their apartment.
So yeah, raising resilience, say only I can find my way back to me. So you have to, and I remember, I'm a former pastor and a minister, but one of the messages I preached one time was that my enemy is my inner me.
That's
So
right.
my inner me is my enemy. So all those other things that I thought was coming against me and was trying to hold me back or whatever, it was just me. I was my biggest person that was holding me back.
It's so true. And to me, what I learned was that, from my early experiences, the word I love, and this is what my friend taught me, the word is called resentment. I always thought resentment meant anger. But when you look up the word resentment, the root word comes from the Latin or French word ressentir, which means to refeel. So what I realized was every time I would refeel an old experience, right? And this is what was unconscious, because it lives in the unconscious mind. Every time I feel it, the initial belief that was created. So beliefs like nobody cares, beliefs like, if I don't do it, no one's going to do it. The belief like I have to put myself last because I have to take care of others. Like, so I learned all these different beliefs that were formed from then. And I just acted on them, and I call it in my book, the reaction cascade. I'm actually doing a master class on it to show people. I'm very visual. So I have this little drawing and stuff of what it looks like, because I have to look at it and see it myself to understand it. And once I understood the reaction cascade, that this was the stuff in my unconscious mind that was driving me, these old internalized beliefs. And I gotta unearth them, right? Like an archaeologist, I gotta dig it out. And once it's dug out, I can look at it. And so when I'm refeeling now, and today still I refeel this stuff, but I can hear the belief now. And I can say, no. And I can say, I'm removing this and I'm replacing it with that. And I like affirmation. So I'll affirm, I always affirm to God, I just will raise my arms and just affirm. And that's what's gotten me through. And I've been doing this for a long time now, over 20 years. And now that I sold my company, I'm like, you know what? Like, I want to show other, people in their 30s and 40s and, who are really like in that space where I was. And I want to show them like, no, you don't have to, you don't have to lose yourself.
Okay. So now you go ahead, Walt. Go ahead. I see you.
So just quick question. So while you were going through this process, like you said, you had a 2-year period where you were actually figuring it out, right? So during that time, is there any point where you were on an airplane and the flight attendant says, in case we lose pressurization, put your mask on first and then help those around you? Did that ever like ring a bell, a light ever come on with those words? I mean, because it seems so simple. And when you think about that, when you even say that to someone going through stuff now, and it's like, you're no good to me if you're not helping yourself. If you are not okay, you cannot help me. So does that ever ring a bell with you? Does that ever settle with you?
Yeah. Oh, it did. I mean, to me, an empty cup can't fill an empty cup, right?
How
And
about that?
so that experience showed me that, And so that's why when I went on the journey and I was trying to understand what to do and how to change it, I realized, like, as I started to uncover these internalized beliefs, the way that all these tools are in my book, but the way it works is once you lay out and you look at it, there's an exercise. There's 8 practices, and the second practice is the one where you have to go in with an open mind, because you got to turn around, what you see, and turn around your perspective. And I call it the turnaround.
Okay.
And so what the turnaround helped me see, and these are things that were, and just to give you all perspective, these are just various conversations with all the influential people in my life. So it wasn't like someone did this exercise. These were my one friend and I. Her name is Candace, and we talked all the time. And she was involved with her church, and she read all these books. She did book clubs, and just really deep stuff. And she would really challenge me to think differently. And the turnaround really, what you'll see in my book is really from my conversations with her. And she helped me see my patterns, and she helped me look at how my beliefs affect me. But the most important thing she helped me see was how I silenced myself, how I needed to say no. No is a complete sentence.
Complete
But
sentence.
for people who are like emotionally burned out, like there's a fear, if I say no, it'll never get done. And, because it's from an old belief. And so I had to start practicing self-care. And, and for me, what that looks like is I take about 15 minutes a morning. When I first started, I was like 5 minutes, because I was like, who has time, But the greatest gift I learned is giving myself quiet time in the morning. And I start every day practicing mindfulness, and now I do it all day long.
Yeah.
I do it in the morning. I go for walks. I have what works for me to keep me connected. But that's how I stay connected today. And if I didn't do it, I could tell you, I could feel it. I get edgy again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, with Tracy, when you're saying the turnaround, I'm just going to ask: is that like in degrees? Are you talking like a 180, or you're talking 360, like right back where I started? So that's, I think, a lot of people. Yeah, the 180, because I know a lot of people make the mistake of coming and they do a complete turnaround and they're right back where they started, 360 degrees, right back where I started. And like, I didn't see any difference, but you didn't turn around. You need to 180. Now, don't go the whole.
You're thinking around.
Yeah. Right. So I just want to make sure we got that clear, because a lot of times we make a, if I'm going the wrong way and my GPS say make a U-turn, it's telling me to go the other way, 180. But if I just turned around, I'll be right where I was lost in the first place. So, and that's where we sometimes get jammed up.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to people, so you got people coming to you saying they need help, do you use some form of methods, or do you have a program, or how does that work when you help?
Well, thank you for asking. I just wrote the book, and, thank you for sharing it with everybody. It's Life Storms Finding Your Clear Sky. And, what I'm offering in it is, what I show people is how my life experiences shape my thinking. And what I do is the first few chapters are giving you my story in a little bit more detail, but how it really affected me. But the rest of the book is really following an 8-practice framework. And it's called the Aurora Method. And I named it Aurora because Aurora is the Greek goddess of dawn, or new beginnings. And a lot of us with burnout, we're always running to stand still, right? We're just running, and we don't get anywhere. We don't change. We don't do anything different. But what the Aurora Method practices do is it really guides people. It's a step-by-step practice. And for each practice, there's different tools that I've applied to it, so that you feel that you're making progress. So what I'm doing right now is I'm offering a master class on what I call the reaction cascade, to help people understand it. Because I find that, people with burnout, like, we're so burned out, we don't have time. And we're always like, I don't have time for this. Like, it's going to take too long. And if anyone's like me out there, therapy felt like eons and years, and I want to change right now, But what the Aurora Method does, it's a guided framework, and you start seeing results over time. I usually ask people, give me 8 weeks, and let me show you what you can do. Because once you have that turnaround experience, you can start practicing change. And not that change happens overnight. I think we all know that. But once you understand what to do and how to do it, because for me, the journey was about how. Everyone told me what to do. They gave me their opinions. I had therapists tell me what I needed to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And so what I try to do with the Aurora Method is to show people how to change. It's raw for me to share all this vulnerability with people, but it really made such an incredible impact on my life. And, I really I'm just thrilled to be able to share it with people. So I'm going to be offering an 8-week course. And my goal really, because so many of us with burnout, we're terrified. We don't want people to know because we think that people will think that we're weak.
Yeah.
Right. And we're and strong women in particular, as well as strong men. I know
Yeah, but no, but you're right. Go ahead and say it. It's okay.
No,
you're right.
Right. But men always think that women like talk, but we don't. Right. We're a lot alike. And so strong women are afraid of appearing weak, and they don't want to ask for help, and they don't oftentimes want to make the time to help themselves. So what I'm hoping to do as I launch this business and launch this course is to build a community of women supporting each other as accountability partners.
Yeah, there's some little endorsement down there in the chat right there. Said had the pleasure of meeting Tracy for private mentorship, and Aurora Method has been transformational.
Thank you, Pilar.
Wow.
Yeah, so that right there. So now, do you have your own website, and that's how you're doing? Is it all online masterclass, or do I?
Yeah. It's tracydoyle.life if anyone's interested. There's more in there about burnout. You can download a free excerpt of my book right now. We're launching on October 14th. I'm excited. We have an audiobook coming, but there's an ebook, a hardcover, and a paperback. But yeah, download a free copy. I created a clear sky mini guide, 3 simple practices that are super, super high level, but gives you some sort of exposure to what the Aurora Method might do for you at a very high level. And then the master classes, I'm also offering, emotional reset sessions if people want to talk about it first. Because I know for many women, it's really, it's a big thing to make that decision to change, and if there's one thing I can say to any woman out there struggling is give yourself permission.
Wow. You say give yourself permission.
Yeah.
So give yourself, and that's it's funny because a lot of different people have different ways of dealing with different things, and it can be, but I like that. To give yourself permission to take a break, give yourself permission to recover, get some rest, and like it's okay. It's going to be okay. Whatever's going to be there is going to be there when I get back. So give yourself permission. I like that. So that's nice. I like that right there. So now I'm battling. I'm coming to you right now, and I know you got the master class coming and all, but what advice would you have for me now? What steps can I take other than, like you say, give myself permission? But I'm burnt out. I'm at that point where you were in the, with the bottle in the car, and what would you say to me? And you tell me you're not a doctor, so I'm not asking you as a doctor and this and that, but what would you say to me?
Yeah, what I would say is what I would want you to do is think of one belief that you have, and you probably are aware of it. It could be nobody cares, I don't belong, whatever it is. One belief. And what I want you to do is think about that belief, and then think about the opposite. What is it? And I want you to create a mantra for yourself. So for me, one of mine is I don't belong, because I was born out of wedlock, and you'll read why I think that in my book. But what I have to say whenever that happens, especially when I'm feeling so alone, I belong and people love me, and I'm singing it. I belong and people love me. I belong and people love me, and I just say it all the time. So there's so many folks out there who have beliefs where they might think my husband doesn't love me, or nobody cares about me, or no one understands me. Turn it around, right? Which is just what's your mantra? What's the opposite? I'm understood. People see me. I'm understood. And so that would be my recommendation for anyone who's struggling right now. Find that one thing you can release.
Okay. Now, is your class going to be a one-on-one, or is it a group session? How would the class?
I'm going to do it as a group coaching session. I am available for one-on-ones, but sparsely because I'm working on a number of things right now.
Mhm.
But basically, yeah, it's an 8-week course. I'm going to be offering it. I'm going to start it later in the year. Probably, I might even start it for the new year, like do it like as a Christmas special kind of thing and get started with the new year. But it's 8 weeks, group sessions. I want people to, they have the opportunity to come, like they'll get some asynchronous learning first for the tools, then they can come and get coached if they have questions. And then I'm also available for Q&A on a second day during the week, because learning about yourself and getting honest and real with yourself, it's not easy and it's hard to see. I call it jading. We all want to like justify, I do this because of that, or I want to argue with you why, or I want to defend why I did what I did, or explain it away. And I challenge people not to jade, and I wear jade to remember it, because it's so difficult to do by yourself. The Aurora Method is essentially laid out in the book, and it's your Bible, if you will. But doing it alone can be challenging. So I encourage people to, to think about working with me and let me take you through it.
Now, something I learned on the Ladies' Diary, and I'm trying to, I don't want to even step on it or mess it up, but you said it while you were talking to us. So you told us about a lot of the hard times you went through and a lot of things that, and you are recovering. But can you explain to me as they said, the lemonade part of it? So we know the lemons, we know that you're recovering. So how is it? How do you feel now that you went through all of that and you came out? And can you help us understand, how does that feel to you?
So what I'm going to tell you, the lemonade is a life beyond my wildest dreams. And I'll tell you why. I basically, felt so alone, right? My mom had me out of wedlock. I didn't know my father's side of the family. I have a mentally ill sister. My brother died. And I felt just like I was a chronic caretaker. Well, the first thing I did when I started working the Aurora Method was I repaired relationships in my life. So like my aunt and uncle, they're in my book, but I love them dearly. And, but we had a falling out. And I was like, that's it. Never going to talk to them again. Because that's where my thinking took me, right? Repaired that, got my family back. My relationship with my spouse is incredible. So much so I moved away for 4 years, right? It's just absolutely incredible. The friends in my life are deep and real. My friendships, they're not just superficial. I built and sold a business, and I still have people that they want to work with me. They're helping me. Like when I was in my burnout phase of my business, it was crazy. I would understand if they didn't want to work with me, but I have people that thank me for the experiences that they had. So that part of it is incredible. But what's super incredible is, and I get a little emotional about it, because had I followed through with my plan, I would have never met my sister. I didn't know that my mom had another child after I was born, and she found me. And she found me in 2017, and she's like the lighthouse in my current storms.
Wow.
Like I talk to her when I'm stressed out over my other sister, and she talks me off the ledge. It's amazing. And then in 2020, my father's family, they found me. And, they didn't know I existed, but I just randomly, through the support of my other sister who was adopted, went on, on Ancestry and just put my stuff out there. And my family, my brother Bob, my sister Sue, my sister Diane, and I have all these nieces and nephews, and they opened their arms and welcomed me to the family. And here I was, this person, I don't belong. I belong. It's amazing. And my heart is beyond full. My life is beyond full. And it's all because I overcame emotional burnout and I didn't give up.
Wow. See, Tina is here and put it in the chat and said, it wasn't easy, but Tracy helped me find myself and helped change my life. And that is of my family for the better. And that's amazing. So we're hearing that it works. I mean, we've had unless you're paying them to come up here and throw chats. People throwing chats up there. All right, here's your $50. Thank you.
Oh man.
No, I'm sure you're going to come after me and say, "Oh, you're going to take me out for
Get my money." But no, it's great to hear people that's supporting you because you helped them get to that point. So they're easy to come up and say, sometimes when we look at your book, I'll look in the book and I'm one of those people that will see the comments where people said about the book, yeah, this was, and have them actually come up on a live show and say, hey, this helped me. And that's amazing. So I applaud you. I know Walt had already said that you're a tough person.
Yes.
I'm still blown away at the part where you used to race people at school and take their lunch.
For lunch, yeah. Hey, man,
I was like, did you
heck of a
go in the
motivator,
track?
you know.
Hey, a girl's got to do what she's got to do, right?
Hey, man. Hey, Jack. A hungry person, it's tough, man. It's tough to beat a hungry person, man.
Yeah,
That's tough. That's tough.
I guess, Tracy, I'm looking on the other side. What happened if you lost? Because you had nothing to give them, did you?
I don't lose.
You are losing. That's motivation. 100%. I got to eat.
Oh, man.
Right. No, I did lose races. I didn't eat that day, but I was pretty lucky. There was actually a delicatessen across the street from my school, and whenever I lost, I would go in there. And I mean, I hate to admit this, but I would steal little candies and things. But the guy, I think they figured it out. And so whenever I would go in, they would actually give me food. They would give me like a sandwich, and I would bring that home. So there's so many good people in the world, and I think when people see malnourishment and they see it as a struggling child, because I mean, I was unkempt. We didn't have running water. I mean, I was filthy. I had lice. I mean, it was bad. And so I wish for the life of me, I wish I could remember who they were, but they were lifesavers for me at that time.
Wow.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Walt. No, go ahead.
No, finish your thought. I'll ask you. Finish your thought.
No, I was more the thing that amazed me when you tell that story is because you say that you took it home, where you didn't just eat it for yourself. And I got it. I don't have to take it home. I could just take it. It's mine. And for you to know that there are people depending on you, even though I know you said that multiple times, but at that young age, you had that weight on you and you had the responsibility of let me make sure I take it home. My siblings need this, and my mom might even need it, and you did it. And that's right there. I know you were saying self, but that's one of those self words too as well. Because you wasn't selfish in that sense, that you actually took the food home. And so other people could eat. And you probably went, I'm more asking you to help me on this one. Was a time where it wasn't enough for you and them, and you gave it to them? Did you?
Yeah, I would take little pieces of it, and I would just rub their bellies, because I didn't know how to console toddlers that were starving. So I would just rub their bellies and give them food and rub their bellies and their backs so that they would sleep, because that was the only thing I knew to do at that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in 2025, in the era of, and at the risk of sounding like the old guy, even though I guess I am at this point, you hear kids complain about things, and you hear parents complain about things with their kids, like, and praising people. Wow, I wish I had the courage to take my kid's PlayStation. Like, how do you address those folks who basically, we don't play top this with each other's struggles, but I mean, like, sometimes back to just get out of your own way. Just have the intestinal fortitude to do what you need to do. How do you deal with those people? Because we're dealing with a different type of parent, and we're dealing with a different type of child. So how do you address those issues? Like, oh my God, I can't believe mom fixed me a bologna sandwich today. I mean, like, this is ridiculous. This is so unfair. I mean, how do you deal with that? Or the parents that just feels like they just have to do it all for the kids at the detriment of the kids actually growing? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because there's a couple of folks I'm actually mentoring right now, and they have young kids, and they constantly feel like failures. And again, it goes back to an old belief. So typically what I'll say to them, the first question I ask is, what's the fear? Because in the reaction cascade, what we're looking at is basically what's the refeel, what's the initial belief, and then where does it go from there? And it usually goes to a core limiting belief of I'm not good enough. And then from there, it's a fear that lives underneath it. And it's either, I have 3 fears that I talk about: loss, because I like Tony Robbins' work. So
Okay.
it's loss, fear, less fear, and never fear. And when I ask them what the fear is, there's usually a never fear. They're never going to ... Or, I'm going to fail as a mother, I'm never going to be a good mother because a core limiting belief is I'm not good enough. So what we do is we work through the fear and we work through the belief. And, and then once they do that, what starts to happen is they are able to see where they take it, and they're able to dial that back and make a decision to do something different. That's not to say they always are going to do something different, right? Because, it's hard. In today's world, it is hard. And, especially women today, like they have high pressure jobs. They're trying to be everything at work, and they're trying to be everything at home. And at some point they feel like something's giving, and it doesn't have to. They just have to work through their fear and redirect it and find the time for themselves.
So it's simple, but it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Right.
It's not. And they have to be willing to do it.
Have to be willing to do the work. Okay.
Yeah. That's what the second practice talks about: open-mindedness and willingness. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So Tracy, I know that we've talked about the successes. Have there anyone come through you that it wasn't successful? That did you feel any different because of that one? Did you feel like you didn't do your part, or maybe they didn't do their part, or how does that work? So
yeah, I've mentored quite a few women, and what I find is for people who aren't successful, sometimes it's just the method. To me, I think that there's a tribe for everybody, basically, right? So the method to me, is something that's worked for me, and if it doesn't work for someone else, then I'm not the right person to help them, right? That's just it. I don't take that personal. But sometimes I've had people who they won't give themselves permission to make the time to do it. And there's nothing I can do if they don't make the time to do it, and I'm not going to scold and say, you didn't make the time to do it, you're bad, because clearly there's a belief there, right? I'm not going to do that. But I find that typically it's one of the two. Either it's just not a right fit based on the way in which the method works, and in another instance, it's just that they don't give themselves permission.
No, and I appreciate you saying that, because of the fact that a lot of times people will come across as if this is the only way.
No.
I'm the only way. I am the way, and it's like you're not trying to play that person. You're not trying to say you have. This is the only way that you're going to get fixed, because like you say, everyone is different. There's a different, method for everyone, but you have a method that we've seen with by the comments that it works, and it worked for you, and it's working for others. So those who we have already put in the chat, we've definitely dropped your links in the chat for those who might want to take your class and might need your class. And we definitely thank you for being on the show today. I've learned a lot about not just your drama and the situations that you've been through, but how you came out. So I appreciate you being willing to share your amazing story with us, and I'm looking forward to getting your book. Yeah, and when you turn it into a movie, I'll get that too. So but for sure, we definitely appreciate you being on the show today and sharing your story with us. And we're going to ask you to stand by as we close this show out and hold back, and so we can talk to you a little bit after. Walt, do you have anything else?
Tracy, thank you. I just downloaded your book on my Kindle, so I'm going to get into that tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's sort of a no nonsense, like you don't complicate this thing. And it's kind of to basically reiterating what we already know, but like you said, that you put the how in there, and you kind of giving people a path to this, and I respect that. So hey, congratulations, and keep doing your thing. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been a real pleasure.
100%. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So for everyone out there, we thank you for tuning in for the Iron Sharpening Iron show. We got Boss B in the back, Better Than Nightbot, and we got Mama Lyons, the newest member of this Iron Sharpening Iron universe. as I'm calling it right now. And we thank her for being part of this team and part of the family and part of this show. And thank you, Tracy, for being here with us and hanging out with us today. Thank you again for helping us cross the 3,000 watch hour mark. Thank you for helping us get to 200,000 views and all the other things that we went through in the last week. I truly thank you all for being here with us, hanging out with us. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday for the next episode of the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. But until next time, we're going to ask you all to please stay blessed and at the same time, stay sharp. And we'll talk to you later. All right. Thank you.
Hey.